So I feel like I've just been going through the motions for a while, too focused on making videos set to a format and not focused enough on making them the way they need to be made. And that all culminated in the Bumblebee RC video last week, where the moment I was done with it, I knew I wasn't proud of how it turned out. I have not found a replacement yet for that, just FYI. But then I ended up making the 8K subscriber special, and despite the fact that that video took an exhausting 40 straight hours of work to make, I can say that for the first time in a long time, that was the exact video I wanted it to be. And it got me thinking about this channel. What happened to me? Why am I trying to be so gentle with the figures now? Kind Perspective is for the comments section, so let's wheel out old firebrand Perspective once again and not let him go anywhere. It's Core Class Legacy Shockwave. Welcome back to Core Class, ladies and gentlemen, the class that was apparently designed to shit on the Voyagers. I'm not even going to beat around the bush. This is the Legacy version of Kingdom Soundwave. Is it as good? It may be slightly less enjoyable than the Soundwave, but it is that good. This thing makes me question why I even have the Bumblebee Shockwave anymore. Like, I got that thing and I thought it meant that we wouldn't see a new Core Shockwave for years, if ever. I chose to make do with that thing resting on my shelf next to my Megatron and Soundwave, and it fit that role okay, it looked right enough, only to be proven wrong that this wouldn't happen like one wave later when this showed up and erased that thing from existence. That thing is now shit unfit for the toilet. And you know what? This is going to make a lot of people really happy, because it kind of puts 2 in the back of the head of the Siege Leader figure as well. No longer do you need to spend 50 undue bucks to get your Shockwave fix. Instead, you can spend 10 and get like 80% of the quality at 1/3 the scale. But before I go further, I want to do a small giveaway. The other day, a letter just showed up at my house. It turned out that Ryan over on Twitter came into possession of a couple extra Reprolable sheets for Legacy Kickback. He thought you could all use them, and I agree. So, if you want to upgrade your Bug Boy, all you need to do is one thing, and I hope to. First up, I can't actually force you to do this because I don't have access to his analytics, but you should follow Ryan on Twitter. Give him a big thank you for his kindness. Secondly, and what I can force you to do, is have you comment on this video. If you want to enter to win, all you need to do is leave a comment with the phrase, Ryan's Repros, anywhere in the text. It's up on screen so you know how to type it. You can say whatever you want with the rest of the comment, so long as that phrase is anywhere in it. You also need to tell me whether or not you would like to be announced as a winner. It doesn't have any bearing on whether or not you win, it just makes things easier for me to know in advance. The contest is only for today, the 17th of July on the west coast of the United States. If it's not the 17th of July when you watch this, and you aren't in a radically different time zone, it's no longer still open. I will choose the winner by a random number generator, and if you win, I will contact you through YouTube to get your email address so I can get your shipping information in a confidential manner. I will announce the winners if and when they approve of me doing so. If you're a minor, you should check with your parents before entering. Anyways, Tiny Shockwave. This is a fantastic rendition of the character. From the front. Normally, I don't give a rat's ass about hollowness, but from behind, those legs are pretty egregious. As are the forearms, but they aren't as big a deal. And then what the fuck is Shockwave doing without a brain? I know they're cutting costs, but seriously? The smartest boy in the Transformers has a hollower head than Hot Rod, and that's just heretical. The amount of paint here is deceptive, because it doesn't feel like a lot, then you realize the whole thing is actually cast in one tone of purple plastic, and the silver is actually just sprayed on. And once again, I just have to feel like there was a better way to do this. So much budget that could have gone into making him not the Scarecrow, or actually painting his punch dildo, is wasted on the thighs alone. And yeah, if I have one major complaint about this thing, it's the fact that the fist-mounted penetrator ain't got no color. What is this weak sauce? Oh sure, his shins need some color on the sides, but his second most iconic feature beside his head, yeah, that can go screw itself. It's built for it anyways. The only other complaint I have is minor, and that's that his chest is silver and not pink, which I would take less issue with if the grapefruit he comes with weren't red. But it looks okay, it just could be more. I guess his other fist is also technically miscolored, but I find myself not really caring about that. He has a backpack like Shockwaves are wont to have, though this one is a little strange. It's flatter than normal, though a lot wider. I think the normal one looks a lot cooler, but then again, this can flip up to give Shockwave more DACA. And Shockwave may be a cold and calculating scientist, and therefore he would understand that more DACA is mathematically superior to less DACA. And can I just say how amazing it is that a figure this small doesn't have any kind of proportional issues? Like, this is just yet more proof that the Legacy Hot Rod belongs in a dumpster. Every body part on this thing is where it should be, and none of it is too skinny or hung off a chunk of scaffolding. Head even rules, unlike Shithead Hot Rod's shit head. To be fair, Shockwave's head is on easy mode. Like, how do you fuck this up? I ask you, live-action movies, how do you do this wrong? Seriously, Bumblebee, how do you do this wrong? Even Megas XLR got this right, and that was parroting this. Anyways, I don't have much to say about this head, it's basically perfect. It just looks like a scaled-down version of the Siege Noggin with no loss of detail and no light piping. Normally I'd say hallelujah, but Siege Shockwave was one of the figures in all of the annals of history to actually do light piping any level of justice, though it probably wouldn't work here, so still, hallelujah. So this is a seriously good-looking figure. If I'm honest, this probably looks more like Shockwave than the Kingdom Soundwave looks like Soundwave. Hell, this is probably pretty easily the best-looking, most accurate of all the core class figures so far. Like, his only competition is Iguanus, who is coasting on pure style and Krasma. And look, Shockwave is many things, but he's also unchrasmatic, unlike Soundwave. His accessory is really good and also really lame. I mean, at base level, he has one at all, and when taking the actual figure into account, that didn't even need to be a thing. It's Shockwave, he's good without already. Instead, he comes with this ugly-ass little radar dish. It's painted well, like, it got a lot of the stuff and a color nowhere else on the figure, but it's still goofy. It looks like he's trying to spy on people at the beach by listening in on their conversations. It can peg into his gun hand and... awful! No, get it out of my sight! You can hold it from the back, so I guess you can kind of turn it into a laser sword if you use a blast effect. I've seen worse uses of accessories. But the best use for it I've found so far is to plug it into Brunt and give him a Mazer dish for his Mazer tank mode. It doesn't hold the best because the hole isn't deep enough. I know what you're about to say. That's what she said. But anyways, yeah, a well-made, if slightly ugly and confusing accessory, but one that the figure didn't even require, so I can't bash that. Articulation is yet more reason why the Earthrise Cliff Jumper sucks. Head swivels and has a fake tilt down, shoulders go the way up, elbows bend 90, no wrists, no waist, but he can actually get his arms across his chest, completely unimpeded hips, maximum knees, and no feet, and while yes, there are fewer joints here than that Cliff Jumper, it is still half the price and half the size. And anything that is here has equal to or more range than that Cliff Jumper, typically more. And among the core classes, this is once again up there with the best of them in the posing department. The other Purple Boy Iguanus is again the only one giving him trouble. Because that thing wasn't just impressive when compared to Cliff Jumper, it was actually just flat out better than him in every way. And the transformation on this little guy is absolutely phenomenal. In core class, this is the new second best. There's a tiny learning curve to it, but it kind of begins and ends with learning what order to move the arms up in. And that you need to press directly down on the top of the head and not press it forward from the back. I will say that without using the instructions, it took me an embarrassingly long time to figure out that I needed to flip down the crotch. And the end result is awesome. It's a tiny, complete version of the Siege figure, turning into that Space Dreadnought without all the extra parts forming. It would have been slightly better, I think, had they painted this front rectangle silver, and the cockpit could have used some yellow, but as a tiny evil arc, this thing looks immense. My biggest complaint is the arms sticking off the back kind of suck. For everything else to be so cohesive, and to just have these jutting off the ass end of the ship unchanged is a bit shitty. If they double jointed the elbows, they could both flip into this empty space right here. You can kind of fake it by setting them both off to the right of the alt mode, but that does make the ship banana out a little. You can peg the radar dish into the top of the ship so he can listen to your conversations from deep space. I know that's not how sound works. I suppose it's some kind of super weapon, but the only problem with that is that it's firing directly into the back of the cockpit. That seems like, might be a bit of a giant fucking catastrophe. But then Shockwave comes with one last accessory. Because he is accessories. You can flip down a handle at the rear and turn the alt mode into a giant laser gun. And take that, America! The further Shockwave gets from his traditional alt mode, the more like it he becomes. The unfortunate thing is, I think that they tried to give him some subtle blast effect pegs on the front here, but they aren't long enough to work, and Shockwave is kind of ridiculously big to fit in a normal figure's hands. Like any Deluxe or Voyager is going to look rock-eating stupid trying to hold this thing, but in Commander classes or Combiner's hands, he looks pretty solid. So ultimately, a very cool alt mode. It's got a few flaws, but nothing that really damages it. It's a little bent looking, there could have been a tad more paint, and the arms hanging off the back are a bit weak, plus the nipples on the front needed to be a little more erect. But as a tiny representation of Shockwave's new solo alt mode, it rocks. It's exactly like its bigger brother at a smaller scale, and it has tons of neat little gimmicks, like blast effect compatibility, weapon integration, and it can be a silly little giant blaster for what hopefully will be a Legacy Bruticus sometime next year. Come on! I know I already have the best Bruticus ever devised, I need more! Look, this figure kicks ass. It rocks. This is another one of those releases that you need to not miss. You owe it to yourself to get one of these things because it's cheap and it's great. Among the core classes, this is now like second or third most accurate, second or third best looking, second best posing, second best transforming, and quite possibly the first best alt mode. You don't need to worry about the Bumblebee version anymore. There's not even one aspect of that figure that's half as good as this one. And that thing's not bad, but it's entirely unnecessary now. We have the Legend Shockwave. It exists. Here it is. We don't need another one now. We're good. Pick it up, you won't regret it. I can't stop fidgeting with this thing, and the last time that happened was with Kingdom Soundwave, so you know this has got to be good. And that's not half what I have to say, but it's enough what I have to say. And I know, you know, what everyone else tells you to do at the end of these videos. So, if you liked what you saw here, please do that. And if you'd like to take it a step further, then please, share this video with any friend you think may be interested. I hope you all enjoyed listening to me waste your time.